Hello everyone, I'm Alberto Pettarin, speaking from Turin, Italy. Before I forget, I would like to thank the organizers for inviting me to talk about aeneas, the open source force aligner that I have developed and I currently maintain. You can follow the presentation along by pointing your browser at www.readbeyond.it/textav. Before I begin, I need to make a disclaimer. I've just started working for the R&D team of Nuance Communications in Turin, Italy, but today I'm not speaking on behalf of Nuance, nor I represent the company in any way. The contents of this presentation are about free software that I developed before Nuance hired me. Good, having said that, let's see what aeneas is. aeneas is a force aligner that is a software that takes in a list of text fragments and an audio file containing the narration of the text, usually by a human being, and that outputs the time labels for the text fragments. In other words, a force aligner assigns to each text fragment an interval of the audio file where it believes that particular text fragment has been spoken. From a user perspective, aeneas supports a dozen of output formats, including raw formats like XML, CSV or JSON, but also final formats like SRT or TTML for closed captions. One of the best features of aeneas is that it can be used on several languages. Later I will spend a few words on why this is the case. So far, aeneas has been confirmed to be working well on more than 30 languages. aeneas is free software. It is released under the AGPL version 3 license. The development happens on GitHub under the ReadBeyond account. I need to explain here that ReadBeyond was the name of the startup working on digital publishing projects that I co-founded about 4 years ago. When we decided to shut the doors in June 2015, we decided to open source our assets, included the initial core of aeneas. The current version is 1.7.3 and I estimate that there are about 1,000 users in the world. From a tech perspective, aeneas is a bilingual Python library, that is, it works on both Python 2 and 3. Here, library means that you can write import aeneas in your third-party code and use it for your own project. However, to my biggest disappointment, very few people use aeneas as a library. In fact, a vast majority use the command line tools that are built in and provided by the Python package. Those who are afraid of command lines prefer the web application. We'll come to that in a moment. On slide 3 you can see a screenshot of the main command line tool named execute task. In the example it computes an SRT file out of a YouTube video and a segmented transcript that has been prepared in advance. This example is actually slightly misleading since usually the first argument is an audio file residing on the user machine. But if the first argument is a YouTube URL, as in this case, aeneas downloads the audio behind the scenes and then use it to compute the alignment. Of course, many people are afraid of using the command line, so eventually I was pushed to write a web application for aeneas. The web app currently lives at aeneasweb.org. The web app is free to use. You just need to register a username and email address. Basically, it works like this. First you log in, then you upload your text file and audio file or YouTube URL, and finally you set the computation options like the output format you want, for example TTML, and submit your synchronization job. Once the alignment is computed, you will receive an email with the output file in attachment. It is a very rough system, but it has been working pretty well for more than a year and a half. For approximately 300 registered users. Please allow me to spend some words on a few design choices behind aeneas that are very close to my heart and that I think should offer some food for thought. I mentioned earlier that one of the strengths of aeneas is its support for multiple languages. In fact, if you look for open source aligners or even closed source aligners, there are very few that offer decent performance on marginal languages. By marginal languages, I do not think of Icelandic only. Even my own native language, Italian, which is among the top 5 most studied languages in the world, and with more than 100 million speakers, is not covered well at all. This is because virtually all the open source speech processing engines come from academic projects, where English is predominant for obvious reasons. But a vast majority of the world does not speak English. This led me to dig up an algorithmic approach known from the 70s called dynamic time warping of mel-frequency Kapstal coefficients, which has been kind of abandoned because it is inferior to state-of-the-art algorithms on word-level synchronization, but it works well enough for phrase-level synchronization and has the enormous advantage of being very weakly dependent on the language model. You can find the details in the GitHub repo and in the documentation. The second big goal of aeneas is to be easy to install and to use. Again, a problematic side effect of the provenance from academia of most of the other tools out there is that no or little effort has been put into engineering the code and making it user-friendly. You usually need to dodge fragile bash scripts and problematic dependencies. But I think I'm preaching to the chorus here, so let me just briefly mention that overall aeneas is pretty fast and memory efficient. On a typical machine, you can easily align hours of audio and its real-time factor is well below 5%. That is, it takes less than 5 seconds to process 100 seconds of audio, usually even much less. The time and memory complexity of aeneas is pretty much linear in the length of the audio to align. Use cases. Although recently I was informed that aeneas started being used in research projects in academia, its 2 major application domains so far have been audio ebooks and closed captions. When I say audio ebook, I mean something similar to the Kindle plus Audible immersion reading service. In other words, a digital document that combines the text, the familiar ebook, with the narration of a voiceover actor, the traditional audiobook. The text and the audio are synchronized, so you can switch from one mode to the other without losing the point, or even consume the book by reading and listening at the same time, possibly with a follow-along highlighting. This was in fact the primary use case that started my work on aeneas while ReadBeyond was alive. But unlike Amazon, we used an open format called Reflowable EPUB 3, and we made more than 100 complete demos available for free on readbeyond.it. The other 2 projects using aeneas for audiobooks I want to cite here are the SIL Reading App Builder and the website readians.org. You can find the links in the presentation slides. By the way, I think that the concept of multimodal reading is quite underexplored, and I will be very happy to talk with people interested in it. Alright, the second main application of aeneas has been automating the production of time labels for closed captions and time transcripts. I'm not going to spend too many words on this because you know the domain better than me. Let me just add that aeneas has been used by the Italian translators of TED and TEDx videos and by a few organizations and individuals that work in accessibility and public education. Let me conclude with what's in store for the future. The most urgent task consists in rewriting the aeneas web application from scratch and publishing its source code. In particular, it will be rebuilt as a front end on top of an API server, potentially usable with other aligners. I expect to have a first iteration in the fall. The second, more distant path leads to aeneas version 2. Right now I consider aeneas version 1 as essentially feature complete, yet there are a few things that I strongly dislike, but that were done in a certain way for historic reasons and for compatibility. In particular, version 2 will have a more rational command line interface and support for out-of-memory computation, and maybe also support for other alignment algorithms or packages. This is a rather complex endeavor, and I have no precise plans as yet, but for sure aeneas version 2 will not happen before 2018. Good, I think I spoke a little bit too much, so I just thank you for your attention and feel free to contact me about aeneas or audio ebooks or any other ideas I throw around today. Thank you, bye bye.